retail prescriptions that are filled annually in the United States between the years of 2013 and 2025, and it's in the billions. The people in the United States of America take more prescription and take more over-the-counter medications than any other country in the world. So the prediction is by the end of this year, 2023, there will be 4.83 billion prescriptions filled and taken here in the United States, which is just amazing to me. Now, there's a lot of questions that seniors always ask me in terms of exactly what is a medicine? What is a drug? Well, the term medications and drugs are usually used interchangeably, and the definition of a medication is a substance which has a physiologic effect when ingested or otherwise introduced into the body. So you know that you take medications orally, liquids and mostly pills and capsules, but you also have suppositories that are done either vaginally or rectally, right? You have eye drops that are actually dropped into the eye. So there are injections that are injected into the body. All of those fall in this broad category of medications. Now, what is a prescription? A prescription is an instruction, a written instruction by a medical practitioner. Usually it's a licensed medical practitioner in the state where you live that authorizes a patient to be provided a medicine or a treatment. So that is what a prescription is. So these are things that are written usually by a licensed healthcare provider and filled in a licensed pharmacy. Now, over-the-counter, pills, liquids, creams, suppositories, all of these medicines are sold without a prescription. Now, the interesting thing is many of the drugs that you're buying over the counter used to require a prescription. But the drug manufacturer went to the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, and was able to prove to them that the drug that they're going to now sell over the counter is both safe and effective with minimal side effects and did not necessarily need the oversight of a doctor or the pharmacist. And so they're now able to be purchased over the counter, and dietary supplements fall in that category. The issue is this. A lot of the over-the-counter medications actually, because they used to be prescription, can have drug interactions, can have side effects, can have all sorts of things going on. So before you just buy and start using an over-the-counter medicine, you need to let your doctor and pharmacist know that you're adding those drugs to your current regimen of medications to make sure that there are no drug interactions, or that these over-the-counter medicines are not going to worsen your current chronic conditions. Now, medication errors, they actually are very common. In fact, they cause at least one death every day. We know that medication errors can cause injury to about 1.5 million people each year, and that 2.5 to 5.7% of hospitalized children may experience a medication error. If you're an elderly person that's on a lot of medications, elderly patients are 4 times more likely than those under the age of 65 to be hospitalized for medication errors. In fact, medication errors is in the top 5 for the elderly in terms of the reason for hospitalization. There was an actual 1-year study of 18 nursing homes, and they looked at how many adverse drug reactions were happening. And among the 546 adverse drug reactions, 35% of those adverse drug interactions were due to psychotropic drugs. So we have a lot of folks that are taking medications for sleep, for depression, for anxiety, for stress. And these psychotropic drugs actually have a lot of side effects. So we have to be very careful, especially in our elderly population, if they're going to be using those types of medications. Now, When you're thinking about your medications, there are certain things you need to know. And it's important for you to pull out a paper and pencil right now to start jotting down notes, that things that you need to ask your doctor or your nurse practitioner when you go to see them about the medications that they are prescribing for you. All right, you need to know this information before you start using the medication, especially if it's a new medication. You also need to discuss any food or drug allergies that you're experiencing and make sure that it's a true allergy and not a side effect. All right, those are very important. So when you talk about maybe side effects, you're talking about maybe you have nausea or you have a rash, or maybe right now you're having some trouble breathing, or you have indigestion or dizziness, or maybe your mood has changed. All of these are not allergies. Those are side effects. Usually when you're talking about allergies, you're talking about rashes, or maybe if it's severe, a tightening of your throat. All right, those are allergic reactions. So you need to know the difference between a side effect and an allergic reaction. Now, taking some drugs together can cause some unpleasant and sometimes really serious problems. It can actually be dangerous. So, a lot of people use aspirin when they have a headache, etc., or for their arthritis pain. But if you're on a blood thinner and you add aspirin to that, it can cause you to have a bleeding event, which can be very dangerous. So that's why it's so important for you to keep a list of all of your medicines, your prescription medicines and your over-the-counter medicines, and you need to share that with your doctor, but more importantly, you need to share that with your pharmacist. You should be using a single pharmacy to get your medications filled, because that pharmacy needs to have a list of everything that you're taking. It's really important. So you need to get a little worksheet. There are a number of them that are available on the internet for you to track your medications and have them readily available in your purse or in your pocket, in the notes section of your phone. So if in fact anyone needs to know what medicines you're on, you're not trying to remember the names and the strengths and how you take them. All of that needs to be written and available either on a piece of paper or in your telephone. Now, we know that when you start taking a new medication, you got to be sure to write it down and add it to the list. And you need to make notes of any special instructions for that medication. So you have to have a conversation with your pharmacist. You have to see, should I take this on an empty stomach? Do I need to take this with food? What if I forget? Can I double up? These are common questions that you need to have with your pharmacist so that they can help you be able to take the medication correctly. It's very important. You want to always follow the instructions that are given to you by your doctor so that you're taking the medications exactly as prescribed. Now, what questions should you ask your healthcare provider? Well, you need to have them say the name of the medication, and they should tell you why they're prescribing it. Why are you taking this medicine? Is this for my blood pressure? Is this for my diabetes? Is this for my cholesterol? You need to know what condition you have that doctor is prescribing that medication to treat. Very important. You also need to know how is this going to make the condition go away? Is this going to cure it? Or is this going to just make it more manageable? So you need to have a conversation about the goal of this medications that you're taking for any chronic condition. You need to know how many times a day to take it. So if the prescription says take it every 4 to 6 hours as needed, so what does that mean exactly? Am I taking it every 4 hours? Am I taking it every 6 hours? Am I taking it only when I have the pain or the condition? I need to know exactly what that means. So that is why it's so important for every medicine you're on, you have to have a detailed conversation with your pharmacist to realize exactly what an instruction actually means. So the next thing you need to know is what questions should I ask my health care provider when I go to see them? The first is, what is the name of the medication that they're prescribing for you, and why are you taking it? Every medication should be associated with a condition that you have. So you should know, is this for my blood pressure? Is this for my diabetes? Is this for my arthritis? You need to know why you're taking the medication and also how to pronounce it. You need to know what medical condition this medicine is going to treat, but more importantly, is this going to cure it? Or is this going to just manage that condition? So you need to know what the expectation is. Am I taking this for a short period of time and then I'm going to stop taking it? Or will I be taking this medication for the rest of my life? You need to know how many times a day I should take it. So this is really important. Whatever the instruction is on the prescription, you need to understand what that means exactly for you to do in a 24-hour period. So, for instance, I'm supposed to take 1 to 2 tablets every 4 to 6 hours as needed. So what does that mean exactly? Am I taking 1 tablet every 4 hours, or 1 tablet every 6 hours? Or am I taking 2 tablets every 4 hours, or 2 tablets every 6 hours? And what does as needed mean? Does that mean for my upset stomach? Does that mean for my pain? What does as needed mean? So you need to make sure that before you leave the doctor's office, you understand what he or she wants you to do in terms of the medication. I'm supposed to take a medication every 6 hours. So how many tablets is that a day? Is that 3 tablets a day, or is that 4 tablets a day? Because they're usually prescribing it on a 24-hour clock. If I'm supposed to take it 3 times a day, what does that mean? 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, 1 in the evening. They need to define for you the instructions that they're writing down on the prescription. So that way, when you go to the pharmacy, you're having an understanding of what those instructions mean. And if the doctor doesn't review it with you, then you need to ask your pharmacist that question so that they can tell you, how often does 4 times a day mean? What does that mean? Okay, it's very important that you understand. And how much medicine should you take? Should you take that medication for the rest of your life? Is it okay for me to take 2 or 3 more per day? All of that is very important. Should I take the medicine with food or without food? So is it empty stomach or with a meal? Is there something that I should not eat or drink? There are a number of medications out there that are affected by grapefruit juice. So you need to know if you shouldn't drink grapefruit juice with that particular medication. So not only do drugs interact with each other, but the foods that you drink and eat also can interact with your medications. You need to know that. How long will it take this medication to work? And will this medicine cause problems if I'm taking other medications? And is it safe for me to drive while taking this medication? Does it cause sleepiness? Does it cause drowsiness? Is it going to impair my ability to be able to see clearly? All of those are things that you need to know related to that medication, especially if you're a truck driver, for instance, and driving, or an Uber driver or Lyft driver, and driving is what you do every day. You need to know that. Other questions that you need to know. What does as needed actually mean? When should I stop taking the medicine? If I forget to take my medicines, what do? Is it okay to double up? Should I just wait till the next day or the next time I'm supposed to take it? All of those are important questions that you should ask your pharmacist and your doctor. A lot of medications should not be doubled up. Sometimes you shouldn't take 2 because you forgot to take 1 earlier in the morning, because that could actually make the medication levels in your body too high. And so sometimes you don't want to double up. You also want to know, what side effects should I expect? The doctor and the pharmacist should give you the common side effects that are experienced with that particular medication. We know that. Before a drug hits the market, they have done extensive clinical studies, and I know the percentage of the adverse reactions that that particular drug product causes. I know that. Those are all picked up during the clinical trial. So I know what side effects to tell you that you should expect, right? And then Importantly, I'm going to tell you how maybe you can avoid that side effect or decrease the effect of the side effect for that particular medication. So if I know that a medication upsets your stomach as a common side effect, I'm going to tell you to take the medications with food, because that'll decrease that side effect. If I know a medication causes drowsiness, then I'm going to tell you to take it at night before bedtime, because then I know that that will also help with that particular side effect. Will I need a refill? Okay, and how many refills are you giving me? That's a very important question. A lot of times the doctor forgets to write the refills, and so then that means that you'll have to call the office to get a refill on the medicine, and then they may make you come back in again. So you need to be sure that if this is a drug that you're going to be taking for 6 months, a year, for the rest of your life, you need to make sure that you have enough refills to last until the next time you're supposed to see the doctor. Each time you visit your doctor, be sure you let them know about any new medications you're taking, any new over-the-counter medicines that you've purchased, any new vitamin supplements that you're using, so that that doctor is aware of everything you're taking, because they put it in your medical chart. Now, when I go to my pharmacy, what should I expect? First thing, you need to know that pharmacists are experts on your medication. So it's important that you have a conversation with them. All right? It's important that you go to one pharmacy. You don't jump around. You think just because you go to the CVS by your house that the other CVS is necessarily going to know what you're taking. That may or may not be true. And you think that just because you go to this CVS over here, you can just very simply go pick it up at a different CVS if you have a refill. That's not necessarily true. So I suggest you go to the same pharmacy to get your medications. They can answer your questions. Your pharmacist knows a lot about not only prescription medications, but over-the-counter as well. Same pharmacy is so critical, because you should be able to walk into that pharmacy and they have a profile, a medication profile of all of your medications, so that you can have that profile available to you to take back to your doctor when you see them 3 and 4 times a year. So that's very important. Never use a drive-through window. Pharmacies are not fast food chains. You're not driving through to pick up some French fries and a shake. This is very important that you walk inside the pharmacy with enough time to have a conversation with your pharmacist and make sure that you require that they counsel you before you leave the pharmacy. You may not have noticed, but when you go to a pharmacy, when they give you your medications, they have you sign this piece of paper. If you sign that piece of paper, what you have just said is that you are waiving your right to counseling, that you didn't need to speak to a pharmacist, that you got it under control. You should never do that. You should force and ask the pharmacist to counsel you. It's part of their responsibility to counsel every medication that they fill at a pharmacy. Now, you should also tell the pharmacist if you're having trouble swallowing your pills, if you maybe need a liquid, if it's available, or they need to give it to you so that it's in a chewable, or maybe they can give you a pill cutter to make it smaller. Some pills can't be cut though. So you should got to make, if they're telling you to take a half a tablet, you need to make sure that that prescription, that pill is not film coated or extended release, because that might be a problem if you cut it in half. Make sure you can read and understand the name of the medicine, and that you have this thing again written in your phone or on a piece of paper. They usually put color-coded stickers on some of your medicines. These are warning stickers. You need to read the stickers just so that it tells you take on an empty stomach, take with food. Those stickers need to be there. And check that you can actually open the container. Many of the seniors have all of their medicines sitting on their dining room table with all the caps off because they can't get the caps off. So you can actually ask the pharmacist to give you screw-on caps so that you'll be able to get into your medication, and they're not child-proof. If you don't have any children around your house, you don't need child-proof containers. That's very important. Ask about special instructions. Again, where should you store the medicine? All right, does it need to be out of direct sunlight? Does it need to be kept in a refrigerator? All of these are very important in terms of the medications that you're taking. And you should make sure that the prescription you walk out with actually has your name on it. I used to be a dispensing pharmacist for years, and there were many times when a prescription was brought down to me, and when I started to counsel the patient about, this is your migraine medication, they would say, I don't have migraines. And I would say, well, this medicine is basically usually used for migraines. Are you seeing maybe some bright lights, or maybe have headache in the, maybe the back or front? I don't have migraines. And then I would say, okay, hold on one second. I would walk to the phone, call up the doctor, and I had to send the patient back upstairs because they got somebody else's prescription. Very important. That is why counseling and talking to your pharmacist is so critical. That used to happen at least once a day when I was doing distribution pharmacy. Okay? So again, I'm going to say this again. I've said it before. You should not be taking a prescription that just says, take as needed, PRN. You need to know what that means. So that has to be defined for you. Medication should be taken either once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day. All right, there should be information on there that makes sense to you so that you know how you're using that medication. Traveling. Traveling is such a big deal. Before you travel, you need to ask your doctor or pharmacist what kind of time zone you're going to, and is that going to affect how I'm taking my medicine. You need to bring all the phone numbers of all your doctors and pharmacists and carry a list with you. But more importantly, you need to have a separate set of medications that you travel with. All right, so you need to have a traveling set, and you need to carry those medications not in your checked-in luggage, but in the luggage you carry on the plane. Because you never know if your checked bags are going to make it to where you're going. And if you go somewhere, you may not necessarily be able to get those prescriptions filled. Even though it may be the same pharmacy, if it's in a different state, all right, that can be a problem. Because those computers in California don't necessarily talk to the computers in Georgia, even if it's the same pharmacy chain. So they'll make you have to go to a doctor to get a new prescription prescribed by a doctor from that state. So it's very important. The first thing you put in your luggage, on the bag that you carry on the plane, the first thing you put in there is your medications. Now, let's talk a little bit about side effects. Side effects, all medications cause side effects. Let me say that again. All medications that you take cause some type of side effect. All right? So sometimes side effects actually are what the drug is prescribed for. So, for instance, a lot of the newer diabetes medicines actually cause you to have weight loss because it decreases your appetite. That was actually a side effect of the medicine. And then they found out that happened, and so now that's what the drug is being touted for. That not only does it control your diabetes, your blood sugar, which is the major reason for the drug, but the side effect of not letting you be so hungry and losing weight is actually a benefit, because most people with diabetes are overweight. Okay, so side effects can be good, sometimes side effects can be bad. Most of the time, side effects are bad. So examples of side effects are a bitter taste in your mouth, nausea, a headache, vomiting, upset stomach, diarrhea, drowsiness. If you're having and you start taking a new medicine and all of a sudden something changes and you're now having different things happening to you that you do not remember having before, it could very well be because of the new medication that you're taking. So you have to be able to talk to your doctor about that. It's very important. Now, some side effects are just minor. Sometimes they go away with time, but some side effects can be life-threatening. You can have severe bleeding. You can have palpitations. You can have arrhythmias. You can have all sorts of things that could actually cause you to have to be hospitalized. So you need to pay attention, especially when you start a new medication, of potential side effects. Now, Whatever you're feeling, you have to start tuning into your body. Your body tells you if it's not feeling good. You have to write that down. And then when you go to see your doctor, you need to take that list with you of how you've been feeling since you've seen them. You need to let them know what's going on. But if something really feels like it's off, you need to call your doctor right away and schedule to come in to see them. You do not want to wait 3 months of having this problem before you get in to see your doctor. Because sometimes they can change the medicine to a different medication or decrease the dose so that you're not taking as much medication. And that's especially for the seniors out there. That's really, really important. Because oftentimes you do not metabolize drugs as well as you used to do when you were younger. And so because of that, seniors are more susceptible to drug toxicities, to having too much of the drug in their system. And so that's why if you start to feel anything that you don't remember feeling before, write it down. And if it's causing distress, you need to get in to see your doctor. Now let's talk a little bit about the difference between generic and brand name medications. Most generics and brand name medicines are the same chemical entity. They contain the same active ingredient, and that's why the medications work. A generic drug is usually just as safe as the brand name drug, and so they actually have to go through the same FDA approvals as a brand name drug. When drugs first come on the market, they have a patent. And that patent can be good for 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is that the FDA gives the drug. After they have exceeded their patent, then other generic houses that all they do is make generic drugs are able to manufacture that drug and put it out on the market, and it usually costs less. By and large, generic drugs are less expensive than the brand name drug. All right, what you have to talk to your pharmacist about is the quality and the efficacy. Does the drug work? Does this generic work just as good as the brand name drug? And so the pharmacist actually has a book that they call the Orange Book, and they can look it up and they can see if your generic medication that you're getting from XYZ company, generic company, is gone through all of the rigors that the FDA requires to make sure that this drug is safe, but that's also that this drug works as well as the brand name drug. All right, now, you have got to keep track of your medicines. That is your job. You need to write down everything that you're taking. Even if you go to the same pharmacy, they can just print out a medication list for you so that you know, well, what medications they filled for you. You'll have to add the over-the-counter medications because they won't know that. So you need to keep a copy of these medications in a safe place. Keep them again on your phone or somewhere in your purse. So if in fact you ever get in a car accident or there's any reason that you're having to be taken to the emergency room, those people in the emergency room need to know what medicines you're on. It's critical. It can be life or death for you. So you've got to be able to have that stuff at your fingertip. And whoever that family member who's probably going to come to see you in the emergency room because that was your first phone call, they need to know as well. So that if you don't have it with you, they will have it with them. So you got to create a file, and that's very important. You also need, before you take a medicine, to check the expiration date on the bottle. And if that particular pills in that bottle are past the expiration date, you need to throw them away. You dispose of them. And there are pharmacies that I see when I walk in, they actually have a little bin inside the pharmacy where you can take your expired medicines and give it to them and they can get rid of it for you. So all of that is very important. Keeping medications out of the reach of children. For those of you who have grandchildren or children in the home, You need to not take your medicines in front of them. If you have a little toddler and they see you taking this really pretty pink pill, they think it's candy. They don't know any difference. So you shouldn't be taking your medications in front of small children because they might decide they want to copy you. All right, if you're going to be in a place where there are children, then your medicines will need to have those child safety caps. All right, and you got to be extra careful where you actually store your medications. So you all have heard the horror stories of the pill parties that people are getting, where they take out their family's medicines and throw them all together in a bowl, and then they just take a handful and take it. So we got to make sure that wherever your medicines are, they're in a safe place that is out of the reach of children. Following instructions, knowing the right way to take your medicine is very important. For instance, let's say you're on an inhaler. Being able to use that inhaler correctly is so important. I see so many people who have inhalers for their COPD or their asthma, and I watch them take it, and they're taking it wrong. I see so many moms giving the antibiotic liquid to their child, and they don't shake it before they measure it out. That means all the medicine's at the bottom of the bottle. So there are certain specific ways to take medications the right way. And you need to know what that is, particularly from your pharmacist. Also making sure you're using not too much, not too little, but the right amount. Because if you're using too much, you're going to maybe be in a dangerous situation. If you're using too little, then you're not going to be treating the condition that drug is used to be treated. So you got to make sure that, it's like the porridge, right? Not too hot, not too cold. It just needs to be just right. And so that's why it's important for you to know how to take your medications. Now, some of you may have some memory problems. Some of you have it hard to remember things. This is why it's so important to bring a family member with you, or a next door neighbor, or somebody who is your health warrior. They need to be there to help you remember. And writing things down is also a really good way to be able to help jog your memory in terms of how to take these medications. Taking them on time is so important. So if it's supposed to be taken 3 times a day, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, then that's important potentially for some medications, because they're only in the body for short periods of time. So you have to spread them out evenly throughout the day for them to be able to have their best effect. So taking it on time is important. Turn on a light. Don't try to take your medicines in the dark. So you can see what medicines you're taking. You got to read the label every time so that you know. I am a strong proponent of pill boxes. The ones that are for 7 days and multiple times a day. I think it's very important for you to put your medicines into those pill boxes so it can decrease the amount of trouble that you're having taking the medication as prescribed. And then again, if you've got a problem, if things aren't going quite right, be sure that you get in to see your doctor. Let them know that you think you may be having a drug interaction, or that you think you may be having a serious side effect, and see if you can walk in. Most doctors will let you walk in. All right. And if they can't fit you in, then you need to go to some type of urgent care in your area. So that is Wise Use of Drugs, a guide to the elderly. I want you to think about joining Village Club. This is our concierge medicine program, where we have registered dietitians, we have clinical pharmacists, and I have physicians on staff, mostly specialists, who can give you a second opinion. So it's very inexpensive. I encourage you to go to villageclub-global.org. That's villageclub-global.org. Thank you so much for your attention today, and may you have a safe and productive year.